what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ramos, and today we're here to talk about the ending of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We're not only going to break down the ending, but we're also going to break down the post-credit scene and the end credit scene, because the ending of this movie literally blew open the MCU, and Marvel's potentially setting up so much. So if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification on this channel. Without further ado, enjoy the video. So Shang-Chi was a wild roller coaster ride, but it's safe to say that the ending is what really blew everything open. At the end of the film, Shang-Chi faces off against Wenwu, and he's wielding the rings trying to destroy the gate that he believes is holding his wife, who's presumably dead. As the fight continues, Shang-Chi eventually wields all the 10 rings until a massive monster comes crashing past the gate, and now it's free. This monster is known as the Dweller of Darkness. In the comics, this monster was more of a Doctor Strange villain, and he was very similar to Nightmare in a sense that they were both fear lords. Now here's why the inclusion of the Dweller is so important, because this character has huge connections to Galactus in the comics. And it's going to be a while before we get Galactus on the big screen, but it seems like Marvel is slowly laying the groundwork for his arrival. Both the Dweller and Galactus are from the same universe, and they existed before the Big Bang. My theory is that the Dweller could potentially be a herald for Galactus. The most famous herald is the Silver Surfer, but we know the Dweller has been around since the beginning of time, and now that he's dead, maybe that notifies Galactus, and now he's coming for Earth. The final scene of the movie features Shang-Chi and Katie eating at a bar with the same friends from the beginning of the film. A portal opens up behind them, and Wong walks through, and he asks Shang-Chi if he has the rings. Shang-Chi says yes, and then him and Katie follow Wong through the portal, and the movie ends, but the post-credit scene begins. In the post-credit scene, we see Wong is analyzing the rings, and then we see Bruce Banner, who isn't Professor Hulk anymore, and Captain Marvel, who actually let her hair grow out since Endgame. First of all, thank God Marvel decided to scrap Professor Hulk, because now that leaves the room open for the real green rage monster that we all know and love to make a comeback. Bruce did have a green regulator on his arm, so maybe now he can regulate when he turns into Hulk. Maybe the events of She-Hulk already took place, where Bruce did a blood transfusion to save his cousin Jennifer, and that caused him to revert back into Bruce Banner. But getting back to the scene, everyone is questioning the origin of the rings. Both Bruce and Carol confirm that they've never seen anything like it, and we find out the rings aren't of alien origin because they're ancient. Wong reveals that when Shang-Chi wielded the rings for the first time, it triggered something in them, and now the rings are acting as a beacon and are calling to something. Wong asked Shang-Chi how long did his dad have the rings, and he said for around 1,000 years. But we know that the rings have been around for a lot longer than that, so this leads me to believe that the rings are connected to the Eternals, and that's who they're calling to. The Eternals, like the rings, have been around since the beginning of humanity, and in the comics, they were created by the Celestials using the Infinity Stones, which radiate cosmic energy just like the rings. It's also said in the movie that the person wielding the 10 rings shall also have eternal life for the time being. They could have used the word immortal, but they said eternal, and I don't think that's an accident. Maybe the rings were created by the Eternals themselves, and that's why they're calling to them. This would just be a great way to get the Eternals involved with all the other MCU heroes and the story that Marvel is building. And if Marvel really wants to double down on setting up Galactus, the rings could also be potentially powered by the Power Cosmic, a source of limitless godly cosmic energy that's primarily wielded by Galactus himself. But we're going to have to wait and see how Marvel continues to set him up with the coming projects, because I do think Marvel is just slowly laying the groundwork for his arrival far down the line. The post-credit scene ends with Carol having to abruptly go on a mission, Bruce leaving, and Wong then initiates Shang-Chi into the Marvel family. In the end credit scene, we see Shang-Chi's sister, Zhang Ling, who we thought was dismantling what was left of the Ten Rings organization. Turns out, she took it over instead, and now women are involved and are training to be assassins. So, she took over her dad's empire now that her dad isn't around anymore. A title card then comes up on the screen and says that the 10 rings will return. Marvel has so much content coming out on Disney+, so I'm confident to say that the 10 rings will probably get their own Disney+ series, and maybe that'll get announced November 12th on Disney+ Day. Overall, Shang-Chi was a great movie from beginning to end, but it was the ending that was the only thing I was thinking about when I walked out of that theater. Not only could they potentially be setting up the Galactus and laying the groundwork for this massive character to arrive in the MCU, but Shang-Chi is now initiated into the Avengers. We got to see Bruce Banner, who isn't Professor Hulk anymore, Carol Danvers, who actually let her hair grow out, and she's still involved with the Avengers, which is pretty interesting. And then they're also potentially setting up a connection between the 10 rings and the Eternals. And 10 rings, 10 Eternals, there might be a connection there. Who knows? We're gonna have to wait and see for Marvel's next project, the Eternals movie that comes out November 5th. So guys, let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? I'm loving seeing all the comments, DMs, emails that you guys have been sending me of you guys loving this movie, because everyone seems to be loving this movie. And if you haven't seen it, then go get your butt in the theater and go watch this movie, because it is something special. And again, after watching this video, Marvel is setting up so much down the line. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification on my channel to get notified when these videos come out. I love you guys 3000, and I'll see you guys next time.